Hey there, Internet! So, I went to Half Price Books today because, first of all, it's Half Price Books, and who doesn't like going to Half Price Books? Second of all, because they are having a sale this week where every day they have an increasingly percentage off coupon that you can take and get books for less money. I don't know why I felt it was necessary for me to explain how a coupon works, but there you go. While I was there, I found this, which is a box set of the entire Inheritance cycle for those of you who have never read these books, which I like to refer to as people who need to read these books. Yes, it is kind of a long name, but I still use it. No, I don't. Anyway, obviously, I bought it, and you might be thinking, why would you buy it? That is, if you know me and know that I already own the entire series, plus a second collector's edition of Aragon. Well, you see, the thing is, I have a certain neurosis when it comes to books, and that is, I really like them to be in pristine condition. I like to read them, I like to love them, I value the ones that I have read and loved and worn down, but I also like to take as good care of them as possible. So, long ago, right around the time I realized that Aragon was in fact my favorite series of all time, / at least my favorite book. I don't know my favorite series, it doesn't really matter. I decided that if I ever had enough money, I would buy a box set to keep on my shelf in pristine condition to satisfy my neurosis while I continued to read the books that I already had. This box set with the coupon was only $30, and so I figured perfect time to satisfy my neurosis, and I'm pretty happy with that decision. But on the subject of neurosis, that brings me to the primary point of this video, and that is that within the past week, something else has come out which really taps into my desire to have things perfectly collected and organized, and that is, you guessed it, Pokemon Go. Because you gotta catch 'em all. Did you like my segue there? I'm pretty proud of that segue. Also, that's a nice segue. I'm not even going to take the time to explain what Pokemon Go is because I genuinely don't think anyone will watch this video that doesn't know what it is. I mean, for crying out loud, my mom knows enough about it to ask me if I want her to drive somewhere in particular while we're out running errands just so that I can catch different Pokemon. Side note, apparently my mom really loves me. Or is just an enabler, but I'm pretty sure it's the first one. Not that I ever doubted that to begin with. Moving on. What I do want to talk about is the fact that Pokemon Go has genuinely, legitimately changed my life. I'm not exaggerating, there are things about my life now that are different than they were before the game came out. Number one, I've spent about 10 hours in the past week out just going for walks and enjoying the outside. And yes, catching Pokemon while I'm at it, but I've been very intentional about keeping it down and only checking it when it vibrates to tell me there's Pokemon nearby. And it's just really nice to have a reason to go outside. I've always liked being outside and going for walks, but for some reason I've always just stayed inside my room and been bored all the time. Pokemon serves as the perfect impetus to actually get me out there, and as a result I've been much happier because A, you actually need the sun to like process vitamin D and calcium or something like that. I'm not a chemist, I don't know how these things work, but it's pretty much proven that sunlight makes you happier. And second, I'm out walking so I feel healthier, and it's just nice to be outside. Second way it's changed my life is it's gotten me to interact with strangers, which I have historically been very bad at. I have been getting slightly better as my life has gone on, but now I see someone in a park who also happens to be carrying around their phone, and I know that person is totally playing Pokemon. And so I can go up to them and be like, yo dog, how many you caught? Are you in charge of a gym? Cause I was. I'm not anymore because it changes so stinking fast, but I still was, and I'm proud of that. Look at that Venomoth, isn't it nice? But in the process of going out and meeting new people at parks who happen to be collecting Pokemon out the wazoo, I've learned that there are all kinds of really cool people out there in the world, and they're nice and fun to talk to. And I'm not the only person who actually genuinely loves Pokemon and is over the age of 8, which is a nice reassurance to have. And third, and in my mind most important, this game has reminded me what it's like to be a kid and imagine that adventure is around every corner. I go outside and I walk around my neighborhood and I'm looking everywhere because I think maybe there's a Rattata over there, or a Pidgey, or a Weedle, because those are the only 3 Pokemon that I ever see, like ever. There are so many stinking Pidgeys. And when I hear something rustling in the bushes like a squirrel or a bird or something, I actually find myself thinking, what could it be? I hope it doesn't jump out and get me because that could count as tall grass, and that could be a wild Pokemon. As I'm describing this, I realize it could be considered insanity to think that the Pokemon are actually real, but what I'm trying to say is that it's appealing to my imagination, and that's something that I think adults don't do enough, and I wish I did more. So in short, I would strongly recommend you at least try Pokemon Go. You don't have to play it all the time. You can just like pull it out when you go for a walk, explore your neighborhood, see if there's any Drowsies, because apparently there's a Drowsy somewhere nearby. And that's all I have for you this week. Let me know down in the comment day section how many Pokemon have you caught, because I know you've tried it. And until next week, deuces.